Hello everyone. Once again, I've not been able to reach that video about why I'm doing this and everything, so I can link into it. But I'll get to it soon. And today I'm just going to go straight to the highlights again. So let's start. The first one. Okay, so this is from Range. Faced with any problem they had not directly experienced before, the remote villagers were completely lost. That is not an option for us. The more constrained and repetitive a challenge, the more likely it will be automated. While great rewards will accrue to those who can take conceptual knowledge from one problem or domain and apply it in an entirely new one. Okay. Yeah, I'm missing the context. Thinking that they're talking about these villagers who were, the author is talking about villagers who were uh, so remote that their idea of world and how it worked and everything was very different. Not things that we would, the things we take to be common sense. It was far from common sense, and the our ideas of space and time, it's a very different idea for them. Is this what, I'm not sure if that's the section this highlight is from. And because of the different nature of the the different perception of reality, they they face the different constraints or different challenges. So I don't feel I can talk a lot about this, with that thing missing, that gap in my mind. So I'm just going to move on. Let me just read it once more to. Yeah, the later part of the highlight does talk about the generalizing aspect of challenges, where we, like, if we can, for example, the more constrained and repetitive a challenge, like, many of the our challenges, many of our tasks are highly repetitive. So if that's the case, more likely we'll be able to automate it. And if we take conceptual knowledge from one problem or domain and apply it to another one, of course, we great rewards follow. But again, I'm not really linking everything straight away. So I'm just going to move on now. Originals. Wouldn't you rather be second or third and see how the guy in first did and then improve it? Malcolm Gladwell asked in an interview. When ideas get really complicated and when the world gets complicated, it's foolish to think the person who's first can work it all out, Gladwell remarked. Most good things, it takes a long time to figure them out. Okay, so Originals, the book is about, being first, being innovative, inventing new things and everything. And the premise of the book is it really important to be the first to succeed, or to to deliver something meaningful? And repeatedly, the the points are that, okay, it's not really that important. And this highlight also suggests that the first person who's in on an arena, they are pioneers, they have a lot of problems to work out. And it so happens that the person who's second or third now starts on a more on an easier ground. It's like saying standing on the shoulders of giants. And yeah, isn't that another position to aspire to? You don't have to be the first, you could be the second person and make it even easier. That can lead to success. And it's not success for success sake, it's meaningful success. So yeah, it takes time to figure something out. And being second, being third doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean that the market is lost, or it doesn't mean that, okay, whatever's done is done, and you can't improve on it at all. All right, so let's move on. Again, from Originals, he believes that thoughtful disagreement between experts creates an efficient marketplace of ideas where the best ones emerge over time. Okay, yeah, so I don't really remember what does the author mean, like who does the author mean with he. But the highlight is makes sense. It's innovation happens, or any new ideas come up when there's a disagreement. And if we can nurture the disagreement, have them, in a fertile, supportive ground where the ideas are talked over, the disagreement doesn't become toxic. Of course, it can then turn out into an efficient marketplace of ideas where the best ones emerge over time. So yeah, again, the common theme, it doesn't have to be the first idea out there. There could be multiple, there could be a new idea to solve a problem, but there could be different variations of it, and this becomes a different marketplace of ideas. That's the highlight. Moving on, the science of overcoming procrastination. These psychological tactics that will have you push just the right buttons in your own psyche so you can get yourself up and running as you set about accomplishing your task. These three tactics are: don't rely on your mood, deal with omission bias, and visualize your future self. Okay, so this highlight is talking about when you feeling that, okay, no, I don't really know how to get started. You're lost in your own thoughts about, okay, this is the best way to start this task, or I just don't feel like it. And these three tactics, these three buttons that you need to push are: not relying on your mood, dealing with omission bias, and I'm not really remembering this very well, so I'm going to skip this particular point. And the third one is visualize your future self. So yeah, don't rely on your mood. You may not feel like doing the thing right now, but again, don't take that as an input that, okay, oh, that is why this is not the right time to start doing it. Sometimes, and the hardest challenges, the most fruitful challenges, they have to be forced a little. It's our body telling us that the mood is really our body's reaction, saying that, okay, when we're about to take on a difficult problem, the mood is our body's way of telling us that you're not ready, you can't do this perfectly, if you happen to be a perfectionist. So that is why, don't rely on your mood, don't take that as an input signal into whether you should be starting a task or not. And like I said, I'm forgetting the second one, but visualizing your future self. So don't think about what you have right now, where you are right now, because if you're comfortable right now, you're not really motivated to start the task, start the problem. So visualize your future self, and that will show the gap. That if you're having completed this task, visualize your future self, how much better that self is, that yourself is, in the future. And again, that gets you started on the task. So that's what the tactics. Moving on, everyday chaos. It all depends on the rules of interoperability that you have set up, and there is no predetermined limit on those rules. Okay. Yeah, maybe this note will give me a little bit more context, because in itself the highlight is not really reminding me of this. Yeah, so there is this chapter in Everyday Chaos about how interoperability multiplies the effects. Uh, Examples over there. There were many examples. One of them that stands out right now to me is APIs. Using APIs for like providing public APIs so that you can integrate into services. And the example was about Facebook, where, okay, Facebook by itself, yeah, of course, it was like a very useful network and everything. But then, what made it even more powerful was the fact that you could write applications for that, games for that, and then an entirely new ecosystem exploded. One that nobody could have imagined. It was a completely new thing at the time. Now, I mean, of course, now everybody starts thinking about it. Any product that comes up, API is the first thing that they think about. But at that time, it was a new thing. So interoperability, working APIs are essentially that, right? It's a tool for interoperability, and the rules that you have set up on the interoperability, they define how far your product or your endeavor succeeds. And my note below also kind of links towards that uh, the classical causality is determinable using a known set of rules. If you're working on your product alone, and if it's a standalone problem, okay, you can determine based on market conditions, based on things like the cost of your product and all of that, and in its worth to the customers, you can determine. But with interoperability, there is no such limit, and there is no predetermined limit on those rules, like the highlight says as well. So let's move on. Again, from everyday chaos, we built these tools because overall and most of the time they work. They have shown us that we no longer have to reduce the future to survive it. We thrive in our new future by making more of it. This is talking about our data collection capabilities and machine learning in general. And the concept of machine learning is, as against the regular science, the classical science, is that in classical science we reduce things. So there is this common joke in physics also that, okay, how do you measure interaction between two dolphins? And the first assumption is, okay, let's assume that this dolphins are perfect spheres. And we have seen, like, if you're familiar, if you're interested in physics at all, you might know that, okay, how difficult it is to even deal with gravitational forces exerting on a three body system, how complicated that gets. So physics and, this conventional mathematical science, they are all about reducing the input so that we can put them into a formula and thereby determine what's going to happen in the future, using the system that we have designed, essentially reducing the input, simplifying them so much that, okay, now they are easy enough to put in an equation. Machine learning is a very different thing. Machine learning thrives on a lot of inputs, lot of data. It's not uncommon for machine learning models to have billions of inputs. Today's models do have, models like GPT-3 and the stable diffusion model, diffusion models in general, like DALI 2 and all of those. They thrive on this multiple, like, billions of data pieces. So the point this highlight is making is we built all of those tools not because machine learning is a new thing and, okay, like that's somehow um, shown to be an ideal state or something. We use these tools because they work. They are solving problems right now, and indeed, like all of these machine learning models, this GPT-3 and DALI and stable diffusion, all of these seem like magic. GitHub Copilot, it seems like magic. I mean, how does it know what I'm going to do next? But it does not. It's a model. It's like it's working on billions and billions of dials, and it just works. I heard a very good description in a recent podcast I listened to. Machine learning models are like mirrors. They have been trained on billions and billions of data pieces, and now it's essentially a mirror. It's just showing us what we had fed into it earlier. You know, so it's just uh, you know based on the inputs we're giving it now, it's just modifying that whatever it has learned before, it's giving that back to us. And because these tools work, it has shown to us that we don't no longer have to reduce the future to survive it. We thrive in our new future by making more of it. It's okay if there are billions of data pieces. There is no limit on data collection you can do right now. Yeah, that's not an issue. Collect more and more of data, more and more information, and we're going to be able to process it. So that's that. And let's move on. Get it done. The goals we set are powerful motivation tools. A goal doesn't just point you in a specific direction, it also pulls you in that direction. Once you set a goal, it mobilizes your resources towards achieving it. You'll spend mental and physical effort, money, time, and your social capital. I think this is one of the earlier highlights in the book, and it's talking about how setting a goal is a powerful motivation tool. That you might want to do something, you might have a general vague idea that, okay, you want to do something, and maybe you manage to do it, but setting it up as a goal now mobilizes resources in that direction, because now you've set it as a goal to yourself. That's the first step. It's not the only step, it's the first step. But if you don't have a goal, you're not even going to start allocating these resources towards it, your time and everything. So yeah, having a goal, that's the first tool that you're going to do in getting about anything done. I want to start creating these videos. I'm going to The time I used to review these highlights myself alone earlier, now I'm going to do this on while recording on a video. And because I had that goal, it mobilized, it made everything happen. I got fancy lights. I'm now using my camera and my key light and like setting up all of these things. It all happened once I had the goal of, okay, I'm going to do this as frequently as possible. So let's move on. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, uh, I don't recall if this book has come up in my highlights before, but it's a very nice, it's a very useful read. And like beginning of the book itself, the author lays out that, okay, the best place where we can deal with how effective a feedback is is on the receiving end, because you can't control on the sender's end. Yeah, when you are giving feedback, yeah, you can, but most times when you want to make a choice about dealing with feedback, you're going to be at the receiver's end. So yeah, life would be a lot easier if we routinely ask the question about different data, but we don't. Why? Because wrong spotting is so much more compelling than different spotting. Being aware of what they see that we don't is just not as delicious as listening for how they are wrong. And once we spot an error, we can't contain ourselves. We have to jump in and set things straight. But we have to fight that instinct. We have to consciously and persistently choose to ask about the data and share our own. Okay, I'll just yeah. I think my video is blocking the quote, so it's here. And context is that when you receive feedback and it is tough to hear, supposing it's a feedback, it's not positive feedback, it's constructive, and it's tough to hear. We can't wait to get to spot the flaws in that feedback. Okay, uh, it might be called as building excuses, but whatever it is, we can't wait to find things that are wrong with that feedback. Okay, no, you're saying this, but no, this is the reason. I was not at fault for that. What you're saying is right, but that's not my fault. So the point this highlight is making is that the wrong spotting. It's wrong spotting refers to the fact that when we receive a feedback, we are going to start looking for things that are wrong with the feedback itself. It is so much easier. It is so much more exciting. It's like like the highlight says, it's so much as it's like much more delicious um than being aware of, okay, that they're just having a different view. Because when they are giving feedback, like when somebody gives feedback to you, it is their story. And yeah, the book covers a lot about that aspect of it. How do you interpret the feedback, and how do you understand that, okay, it is their story, it is their view of things, it is not the truth. It is, you have your own story, they have their own story, and yeah, there is a whole lot of discussion over there. But this highlight refers to the fact that when we receive feedback, we can't wait to start looking into what is wrong with that feedback, and not think about, okay, what are the differences in our stories, and let's talk about that, rather than saying that no, you're wrong, this feedback is completely invalid because you made this wrong point, and I'm not going to listen to you further. That's what we usually jump to. So yeah, let's move on. Extreme ownership. In combat, as in life, the outcome is never certain. The picture never clear. There are no guarantees of success, but in order to succeed, leaders must be comfortable under pressure and act on logic, not emotion. Right, and I think it's a fairly straightforward highlight. It just shows that we never know what we're getting into in combat, in life, in all our activities. Yeah, we wish for an outcome, we hope that that outcome appears, we have a confidence that yeah, that is the outcome that's going to happen. We may be very very certain of that, but there are no guarantees of success. In order to succeed, we have to deal with this uncertainty, we have to be comfortable under pressure, and we as in leaders, and again the book makes a point that everybody's a leader at a different level. So yeah, I'm talking about all of us, but yeah, I'm talking about leaders. uh, we have to be comfortable under pressure, act on logic and not emotion. Emotions, in the highlight, is not making a case that okay, don't disregard your emotions completely. That's not the thing. But yeah, take that as an input. Act on logic. Be comfortable under pressure. Just because it's very easy for us to misconstrue our emotions under pressure. When, like under pressure, when you're under the influence of stress hormones and everything, we take that as an input to mean that that like that leads to suboptimal outcomes. For example, you may feel like you may get into a fight or flight response, whereas that's totally uncalled for, as in like that's not at all required. It's our stress hormones and our emotions multiplying the effect, and we have to know that we have to listen to our emotions and then act on the logic that okay, are these emotions well placed. That's also logic, right? So yeah, moving on. 7.5 lessons about the brain. The scientific name for body budgeting is allostasis. It means automatically predicting and preparing to meet the body's needs before they arise. Okay, I don't have a lot to talk about this, but this is in the chapter of predictions. There's this lesson about how brains can predict things before they happen, and prepares the body. So it's referring to the scientific name for the body budgeting. That okay, this is why brains do this, and the process is called allostasis. So let's move on. Hooked. Fox states that all humans are motivated to seek pleasure and avoid pain, to seek hope and avoid fear, and finally to seek social acceptance and avoid rejection. I think it's a fairly straightforward highlight again, but again, I have no context on where this comes in. I've not read the book, so I have no idea. I'm going to call it an end. And thank you once again for seeing another video on this highlight. I think this makes it the third week or the fourth week. I've kind of lost count now, but it's been fun. So yeah, have a good day, everyone.